Hey, what's up guys? Got the Hiboy VE-1 Pro that I'm gonna unbox and review. Take it for a spin and give you guys my opinion on this thing. So, let's take this thing out. We got a fender. We have the user's manual, so some basic stuff in here. All the parts it comes with and stuff, and some other instructions. And pretty much what not to do, what to do, and other things like that. So we have the AC to DC charger. It is 100 to 120 volts, outputs 54.6 volts at 2 amps, which is right underneath 110 watts. So you multiply the voltage by the current and you get the power. And then that's the plug right there, good to go. Comes with a bunch of tools, Allen wrenches, and the bearing for the front tire in a pouch that's zippable. So it's toolkit right there. We have an LED light in the back on the fender. The fender itself is metal, if you guys are wondering. We essentially have bike tires on this thing, 16-inch pneumatics, 500-watt brushless motor. We have disc brakes. This part is metal, the deck itself. It's not super long. It is a bit curved. I haven't seen one that is kind of curved, so if you look at it from this perspective, it kind of curves down and goes back up. Decent amount of space, but not super long. Definitely more on the wider side. We have disc brakes in the front, VE-1 Pro obviously. We have the light that doesn't move as you're turning the wheel. We have the stem, and you can actually adjust the height of this thing, which is not common among scooters. So this is pretty much, I think 0 is probably going to be the minimum. And let's see, there it is. And it goes all the way down, and then you basically close this and you're good to go. For the controls, we have our rear disc brake and our front disc brake. We have our bell. We have the screen with all the controls. You hold the middle button for 2 or 3 seconds, it turns on. We get our battery indicator, our current speed, the mode that it's in, so basically 1, 2, or 3. 3 being the fastest, and then I could take it down to 2, which is the same acceleration but a lower top speed, and 1 is the lowest top speed with the same acceleration. So really between 1, 2, and 3, you're just limiting your top speed, not the acceleration. And then we have the odometer right here on the bottom right. And then we pretty much, if you hold the up button, it will turn on the lights, and if you hold the up button again, it will turn off the lights. And this is a 0 start scooter, so if I hit the throttle, it's just gonna go, as you guys can see. Now to fold the scooter, you just push this thing up, pull this back, and lower the stem. Now it doesn't attach to anything, so in order to hold it or pick it up, if you want to do that, I think you have to grab it from here and here. That's probably the most convenient way, and it's not super heavy, but this can move, so you do have to be careful with that. So it's not super convenient to hold, but to fold and unfold is pretty simple. Bring it back and you're done. So I charged up the battery and took it out for a 13-mile ride to test out the scooter. Now it was mostly on paved roads, did some flats, inclines, and declines, so I tested actually quite a few things. Also did a bit of gentle off-roading. So let's just jump straight in with the first impressions. Number 1 is when you're sitting on the scooter, it feels a bit taller compared to other scooters thanks to the larger bike wheels, which is also good because you have a little more clearance than I've noticed with other budget scooters. And I may or may not have dropped it off a few curbs, and it did totally fine if I did that. But honestly, it kind of reminded me of when I was a kid with a BMX bike and stuff. I would drop it off the curbs all the time. and this handled it just fine. Now, I'm not going to recommend doing that, but I mean, I had bike wheels, so I was going to test it. Anyways, number 2 is scooter has normal amount of power with normal acceleration, so nothing crazy. Number 3 is the motor was a bit more noisy than normal, something I did pick up. So normally when I'm riding the scooters, I mean, I can hear the motors, but usually not as noticeable. This one was a bit more noticeable. Okay, and number 4 is that the brakes are next level for a budget scooter. Obviously not as good as hydraulic disc brakes, but you know, those come on much more expensive scooters. But for the brakes, I mean, the stopping power, the linear feel, just the overall, just phenomenal. Probably, I'd probably say that these are the best brakes I've tested on a budget scooter. And if someone were to ask me, like, what is the most notable feature about the scooter, I would say the brakes. Like, without even thinking, I'd say the brakes. So amazing. Anyways, and yeah. So I ran the scooter in all 3 modes, so level 1, 2, and 3, to get a feel for acceleration and top speed. And really, acceleration feels the same. It's really the only difference is top speed. So level 1 maxes out at around 13 miles an hour. Level 2 maxes out around 17 miles an hour. And level 3, I noticed that after it gets to like 21, it kind of struggles to go a little bit further than that. Now, obviously, if you're on a little bit of decline, it will easily get to those numbers, and in some flats it got there, but if there's like even a slight bit of an incline, it has trouble taking me up there. So 21 and 22 was more noticeable from what I saw, at least what the speedometer was telling me on the scooter itself. Okay, now again, I am around 200 pounds, 91 kilograms, so keep that in mind during my testing. So if you're lighter, it should fare a lot better in your situation. I mean, depending on your weight, basically. If you're heavier, it's going to do worse. If you're lighter, it's going to do better. Okay, as far as comfort, it's just like most other pneumatic tire scooters where it's reasonably comfortable considering it doesn't have suspension. And again, I did drop it off a few curbs and it handled that like a champ. And again, I'm not that I'm recommending that. And I also rode it over a little bit off-roading, and it was fine for that as well. Obviously, it did get more bumpy, but within reasonable tolerance. So it's definitely comfortable enough to ride. Now, even though pneumatic tires offer a smoother ride, the downside is you could get flats with these. So this is kind of a personal preference choice. So if you want a smoother ride, pneumatic tires are the way to go. But if you're concerned about potential flats, then the maintenance-free nature of honeycomb tires are, they may be worth a bit more bumpiness. So keep that in mind. Okay. Next, we get to the hills. So descent is what makes most budget scooters suffer, and it's something I always have to test just to see how well or how poorly it does. And this one was pretty much just like most other budget scooters, where it definitely suffered up the hills. I did have to do the zigzag motion. It did get me up there, so it can do it, but keep that in mind. So if you're around 200 pounds and you have a lot of hills, I would personally recommend something more powerful, so it could get you up there much easier. If you're a lot lighter, then you should be okay. But something to keep in mind, that this is really the biggest difference between budget scooters and expensive scooters, are that the expensive ones really just kind of fly you up the hill because they're typically dual motor, and typically each motor itself also has more power. I actually tried 2 fairly steep hills, got me up both, but again, did require me to zigzag, and again, I am on the heavier side. Okay, so at least for the rating of the scooter. Okay, so getting to the downhills, I got up to 28 miles an hour, far exceeding its own maximum speed limit, which is pretty much what it's designed for. And gravity is doing all the work, obviously, so you don't even need to hold the throttle. I mean, if you hold the throttle or not, it doesn't really matter. It's just going to speed up. So at this point, the scooter did start to feel less stable, and most likely because it's really not designed for that. So, and again, these are where the brakes come in. And again, I don't want to say the same thing over and over again, but the brakes are phenomenal, linear feel, amazing stopping power. Okay, enough with the brakes. They're amazing. And when I say less stable, I mean at those higher speeds. Obviously at 23 miles an hour, the scooter is totally stable. It's completely fine. What it's designed to do, it does well. So
To summarize, as with other Hiboy scooters I've tested, this one is really no different. It's genuinely a great scooter for the price. It looks like, obviously it looks a lot different because it looks kind of like a morphed bike and a scooter combined into one, giving it a very unique look compared to pretty much all the other scooters that I have.
Alright guys, so just got out of Smart and Final. This is one of the ways that I personally use this scooter. If I want to make a quick run or something to a store or whatever, I usually, most of the time I carry a backpack, but I was out doing the review and I'm like, you know what, I'll show you guys the other way that I do it. Now, I'm not going to recommend this, especially for someone who's new to scooters. I do not recommend this, so let me just be clear about that. But this is one of the ways that I personally use a scooter.
But yeah, a bit noisier compared to the other scooters I've tested. Comfort is good, motor power is normal, and okay, I'm gonna say it one more time. Brakes are phenomenal. Okay, as always, let me know what you guys think in the comment sections below. Do you have this? Do you want to get one? Do you like the way it looks? I'm just genuinely curious what you guys think. Okay, if you guys enjoyed this video, subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.